Welcome to another episode of Safe Space. Today we're joined by Sarah Raffetto from New York City, folks. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Sarah, we met as I walked into your family store a few months ago with my kids, and I was fascinated by you and what you do in your story. So, can you share with the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll get into the actual show?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Sarah Raffetto. Gotta touch on my Irish because I feel so Italian all the time. And I am the fourth generation member of my family's pasta business, Raffettos Pasta. That dates back to 1906 in Greenwich Village, New York City.
And tell me, about, the business, how it was started. And obviously you're very passionate about what you do. You're passionate about pasta and food. So tell us a little about that. And how did you get into it?
So I was very fortunate to be born into a family business that is very fun and exciting and in a neighborhood and a city that I love so much. And that I also really get along with my family. So I like to say that I am extremely lucky because while it does take a lot of perseverance and effort, it's not lost on me that I'm quite lucky having been born into something so wonderful. And it's been quite a journey of not being necessarily forced into the business, but really allowed to grow into it if I wanted, because my dad didn't have that opportunity and was extremely supportive in allowing me to kind of figure it out along the way in the ways that he was not able to.
So tell us about the family business. Get us
So,
into it. Take us to the
yeah,
store. Tell us all about it.
Raffettos was started in 1906 by my great grandfather, Marcello Raffetto. And what's very special and unique to our story is that he purchased the building in 1920, which is what secured our place in history and really has allowed us to transcend a century. So many businesses in the neighborhood have not had the same fortune. So, very, very lucky to have done that. And while he had traveled back to Italy, and then my nonno came back again, we had different cousins running it at different eras. But to skip more towards my direct lineage, the next in line would have been my nonno, Gino Raffetto, who married his wife, my nonna, Romana, and she was also Venetian. So, or I should say, also Northern Italian, which adds to the uniqueness of our history because there's so many Italians from Sicily and Naples, but our family's strictly from the north. So that's kind of a fun fact about us. And while Nonno and Nonna ran the shop, they were producing everything out of the physical space where we operate today with their two sons, Andrew and Richard Raffetto, my dad and my uncle. And they operated as a team of four, banging out pasta like you wouldn't believe. It was unbelievably busy. They were operating 6 days a week mostly at that time, but then they were getting quite literally so tired they had to narrow it down to 5 days a week. And in the early 90s, shortly after I was born, they purchased a factory on Leroy and the West Side Highway to expand. And fast forward to now, we've actually sold that property and purchased an even larger space in Moonachie, New Jersey, where my uncle and my cousin, his eldest son, operate the factory. And then my dad and I operate the retail side of things. So we divide and conquer rather than kind of being a team of four in the same physical space in the way that they did all those years ago.
So just to put it in context for the audience, when you say, your great grandfather bought the property in the neighborhood, what neighborhood are you talking about? Like, where are you guys?
Yes. So Raffettos is located in Greenwich Village, or we like to call it the Village, in New York City. It's in between Soho and the West Village and extends like both east and west in this cute little pocket of what I think is the best neighborhood in the city. But I'm, of course, biased.
So you also mentioned that you were allowed to find your way into the business. Can you talk about how your father did that for you and how you eventually found your way back into your passion, which is obviously the business?
I think, like many situations, when you're allowed to figure it out, you come to the best conclusion yourself. But when you're forced into doing something, it might drive you in the opposite direction. And while I don't necessarily have that type of behavior, I think it was very telling when it came to this family business, because while I had different bouts of, my dreams of being an actress or wanting to be a dermatologist, or I don't know what sort of random things I had thought of along the way, because my dad said, you figure it out and you're allowed to come to your own conclusions, it allowed me to study abroad multiple times and take classes I may not have necessarily taken if I was just focused on a singular end goal. But because I was allowed to really figure out what my passions were besides pasta, but all roads lead to pasta, I suppose, it really ended up being okay. I got to have this wonderful 4.5 years at a more traditional college, but in the end, I've just given myself a more well-rounded background in education and still want to pursue this business.
So what was the tipping point that said, I'm the pasta print? You call yourself the pasta princess, correct? Something like that?
So a friend of mine in college called me the pasta heiress
The
once.
pasta heiress. So
And
how did you find your way back to your roots?
I guess it was never not there. And I just dabbled in some courses and realized very quickly that my identity is extremely unique. And while there are lots of very cool things to be in this life and a lot of cool paths, mine was so uniquely my own, and no one else can really have that except me. And that uniqueness is very special, especially in New York when there's so much competitiveness and we're all, trying to be successful and trying to make a name for ourselves. So I already had a great one and I just wanted to lean into it and live that to the fullest.
That's an important note here, listeners. Really pay attention to this. Sarah said, she honored her uniqueness. She wasn't trying to be something she wasn't. And she was honoring her past and at the same time, celebrating the present as to who you are. So can you because what I love about you, Sarah, is you don't just honor and respect what you have taken over. You're making it your own. You have a really unique way of taking the pasta and making it your, adding your sort of spice, your sort of sauce to it, and making it your own. Can you share with the audience what you're doing there, which I think is fascinating and a brilliant idea?
Thank you. So as of today, I'm actually just coming off of 2 of the events that I'm about to describe. And just to show how much it's blown up in the past 5 years, we have now done, hundreds of these very cool pop-up events that were inspired based on my love for hospitality. And while I am extremely passionate about Raffettos as a business, personally, I think I like to do a few more things than just open and close the shop each day. So I have a very entrepreneurial spirit, and I've always had lots of ideas that, some will never see the light of day, but this one in particular was capitalizing on the space that we already own. And rather than operating more of a brick and mortar restaurant that needs to be open virtually 7 days a week to cover all of your overhead, I thought, let me capitalize on this amazing, very cool space and do dinner parties in the front room of the retail Raffettos space. So about 5 years ago, I threw myself a birthday party with the help of a boyfriend at the time who's in the industry and was, really inspiring and really pushed me to give this dream a shot. And he lent me all sorts of equipment and cutlery and helped me build a table. We had an amazing, very fun night. And I just thought, wow, okay, that was awesome. And I definitely would like to do this on a greater scale. So I took to Instagram looking for female chefs to partner with and different content creators. I was just trying to find sources of inspiration. And I stumbled upon a really beautiful photo of this egg pappardelle. That's one of our signatures with mushrooms and sage. And it was so beautiful that it sent me stalking said person and looking at all that she had going on. And it was very easy for me to tell that she was so passionate about her craft, knew her stuff, deeply cared about the cultures that she was covering from like a content creator's perspective. And I just wanted to be her friend. So I joke that like a modern day love story, I slid into her DM and wasn't really sure if she would answer my request to work together and chat, but she, as she is today, so kind and so sweet, and was very excited about the idea. It was good timing for her because she had just left her line cooking job but still wanted to do something on a more professional level. And from the moment that we spoke on the phone and leading up to, our first meeting in person, to our first dinner, we just quickly realized how much we had in common, how much potential we had, both as friends and in a working relationship. Here we are 5 years later. It's now called Petite Pasta Joint, and we do BYOB family style pop up and private events up to 26 guests. And I'm very humbled and also feel guilted to say that they sell out in under a minute. It's
Wow.
absolutely wild, and it makes me very happy, but I also feel guilty because I want more people to be able to visit it more often. So we're working out the kinks on how we can scale it in a way that's also reasonable for our very busy primary jobs and schedules. But it was one of the best things I ever could have done, was message her, because we've amassed such a fan base. I have this new outlet of creativity that gives me so much pleasure and gratitude, but also is financially lucrative and fun, and it's a blast. So I'm very proud of it.
So here we go. Really honoring the past, your roots, what was passed down to you, and then celebrating the present by adding a touch of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Remind me what the name of it?
Petite Pasta Joint.
Petite Pasta Joints. It's beautiful, right? And then let's talk about how you're designing your future. Where do you see yourself? What mark do you see leaving for the next generation behind you? I'm sorry, ahead of you.
Sure. So I guess my goal is to just make a larger business that will allow for other generations, or even more immediately, more of my current generation to have the option to step in. Because at the moment, my dad and my uncle, co-own the company. And there are a lot of us that may or may not want to be involved. So I would like to make it as big and successful as possible while still maintaining the traditions and keeping the integrity of the business. But I just want there to be enough to go around if other people are so inclined to participate. And that's also why I have my own projects that are related to and benefit Raffettos, but aren't necessarily the only thing that I'm doing, because maybe I will, step out of the direct Raffettos limelight a little bit and pursue some other things. To that point, I actually have another project that I'm working on that will be launching in a few weeks called Midnight Spaghetti. And it's a late night pasta concept out of my dear friend's restaurant. So we're testing it there first, doing a line of 4 different to go pasta dishes and to go drinks from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And it's meant to highlight the tradition of midnight spaghetti in Italy, where after you've been kind of partying and hanging out with your friends, but you're hungry and you just want something like delicious but not too precious, you go over to someone's home and make midnight spaghetti, and you drink wine and you shoot the shit and hang out and enjoy like a late night snack. So that will be available at Suprema Provisions in the West Village. It's a restaurant on 7th and Bleecker, in late April. And then we're going to try to roll it out at other restaurants across the state.
That sounds amazing. Like I just love, again, how you are honoring the past, celebrating who you are, and designing the future, not just for you, but for future generations.
Yeah. I think the reason why the business is successful and why there's still so much love and creativity, even in something that, doesn't require much change, it's because each generation puts forth a little bit of change, a little bit of touch. And without it, how would we evolve? How would we continue to, grow in decades and all this evolution, especially in a city that's ever changing as well? So it's my job and it's my responsibility to not just take but give and put forth something that can be enjoyed for future generations, or even just my siblings that, might not be truly immersed in it for another 5 to 10 years.
So there's another little treasure nugget, listeners. Don't just take, give back, make the pot bigger so others can come to the table and enjoy the fruits
Absolutely.
of the kitchen.
And I can say that having lived it, and my dad is just such a giver in particular. I just adore him so much, and he has done nothing but give and give and give, and that is the kind of legacy that I want to leave to.
So, Sarah, if there is one piece of advice that you would want to share with the audience, like I always ask the same question of my guests, which is, what's one piece of advice you can give either the current generation or the next generation based on your life experience? What would that be? Besides eat more pasta, obviously.
Yeah. Don't be keto. No. I would say, while it's not revolutionary, it's so important to just not be afraid to fail, because there is so much failure, but a lot of it can be fun. And at least it can come from having tried. And I think I used to be very bogged down by fear and worried that I might not be able to do something properly, or that I wasn't good enough, or that I wouldn't meet the expectations of a promise. But you figure out so much along the way when you try. And if you really have a lot of heart and dedication to at least giving it your best shot, it will never truly be a failure. Even if the end goal isn't exactly how you pictured it, you'll learn and you'll experience so much in life by at least trying. And I can say that myself. If I wasn't pushed by friends and family to have, tried to do certain things, like have a website, my goodness, being cash only, we finally started doing credit cards. There are lots of big and small things that will only happen if you give it a shot and are not afraid to.
So, Sarah, if people want to find, the store, if they want to find, your other lovely ventures that you're engaging in, where do they find you?
So there are lots of ways to follow along, but my handle, as you heard, is Pasta Eris, and then Raffettos Pasta on Instagram or on our website. We also started a monthly pasta club if anyone is local in New York, and we will hopefully expand to do shipping nationally. But that's on Table 22. We have a monthly pasta club. And then Petite Pasta Joint is also on Instagram. We have a website where you can submit event requests if you would ever like to do a private event, but you can also sign up to be on our mailing list where you'll get monthly notifications about the public dinners. And I'm sorry, but yes, it's a rush to get a ticket.
That's amazing. And the other venture, Midnight Pasta?
Yes, and then my newest is called Eat Midnight Spaghetti on Instagram, and that's the concept is called Midnight Spaghetti. We'll be rolling it out, as I said, at the end of April if you're local in New York, and I hope to see that expand in the coming months and years. But I'm also very excited about a fast casual pasta, because that's been on my mind for a long time. So very excited.
Sarah, so much fun to have you on the show. Love your passion. I'm going to be in New York in June. I'm going to come see you. I'm going to take some of that lemon pasta, bring it back to Bermuda.
Exactly, to bring back for all the delicious seafood that you have over there.
Yes, I will. So thanks for being on the show. It's been a real honor and a pleasure. And, much success with your ventures, continued success. And I just applaud you for honoring the past, celebrating the present, which is who you are, designing the future, not just for you, but for the family.
Thank you so much. I am so glad that you walked in that day.
Yeah, me too, actually. So we're going to have you, I envision having you here at our event in Bermuda next May, serving up your pasta, talking about your story, and just contributing to the group, because I think your story is amazing. What you're doing is truly exemplary as a next generation family member. I applaud you.
Be blessed. So sweet. Thank you. It's I love every opportunity to tell our story because I mean it so truthfully, and I'm just so lucky to be born into a fun business, and I want to make it the best that it can possibly be, and ensure that you know future generations can continue to love it and treat it with care. So I thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
So, folks, there you have it. As you know, we do this show for you because we recognize that being part of a family business can be a lonely place, and sometimes the issues that you have, the feelings you have, you think they're uniquely yours, and they're not. So, we've created this community of family members, advisors, all those that are connected to a family business or a family system. So, we ask that you share, be generous and share this with your friends. Comment. Go visit Sarah at her store and go and see her at her events. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. This was so much fun.